is about class interest, and so what we see here are the class interests of youth. The class interests of youth who are saying they are not able to get a job. They are not able to find a dignified life to live. And so we blame them for the crime rather than pointing the finger at ourselves as the elders for not providing an opportunity for them. As elders, we had jobs. Even in apartheid, we had jobs. We had jobs everywhere in the world in the midst of oppression. But when the youth rise up and say to us, we do not have even the same thing that you had, and we want more than you had, then we think this is unreasonable and they should go at a slower pace. This is the condition of the elders everywhere. So what we have to do, recognize that this is our opportunity. Those of us who are older, those of us who are the generation of your fathers, come to you and honor this energy and honor this intellect and honor this genius that you're bringing to the occasion, and find a way to build the bridge and become the bridge for you to now have more than what we were able to produce ourselves in our own generation. There's no time when the youth will ever be subservient to those who have come before them. Never. Every generation has a responsibility to exceed the preceding generation. And so we must honor this that's happening today. This is not something for any elder to be uncomfortable with. This is not something for us to be antagonistic about. There are going to always be internal conflicts because struggle is dialectical. But what we have to understand is that we can resolve those conflicts with dignity. What we're seeing here is the most dignified example of organized struggle anywhere in the world. Everywhere else, there's nothing but bloodshed when we see this level of struggle. But look, these are Africans setting the tone for the rest of the world about how to lead organized struggle within your party and for the rest of your people around the world. Every youth anywhere in the world who comes and gets an opportunity to see this will recognize your leadership. They will recognize your courage. They will recognize your dignity. So here's what I would say to you in thinking deeply about what it is that we must do. Those of us who are committed to justice, those of us who are committed to equality, we must fight a fight based on love of our people. We must fight because we love ourselves. We must fight because we understand that without this fight, no justice will ever come. And so for anyone who would oppose the opposition of young people, the opposition of our youth and our youth leadership, we say to them, it is time for you to sit down.
The last question. Can you tell me, in the question of the elder,
yes,
the motherboard of the ANC,
yes,
if they delay to scrap the constitution of willing to buy and willing to sell, let's say they delay for 30 years or 20 years, what do you think about the future of this youth?
The future is not going to be good. It is the worst thing that we can do at this moment is delay. You have to come before the people and tell the truth. One of the problems that we have now is that there is a credibility gap. The youth do not believe that much of the elder leadership is telling the truth. And so they feel that the youth leadership is speaking truth to power. So if we want to have a clear understanding and a concrete analysis of how to move forward, then we have to honor those who are suspicious of the lack of truth-telling among the elder leadership. And so our challenge now is to go before the elder leadership and say to them, we are not here as your enemy. The youth are not the enemy of the ANC. The youth is the fist. It is the clenched fist of the ANC. It is the spear of the ANC. It is the new leadership of the ANC. We do not want to see our leaders in the ANC die in position. We want to see them honoring this new leadership that's emerging, because this leadership will define the nation. And we're not talking about simply the student at university. We're talking about the student in the townships. We're talking about the one who's not at university as well as those who are at university. There's room for all of that in our youth leadership. So the elders, it is their time to listen. Not just to give advice, but to listen, because new ideas are emerging, revolutionary ideas. And this is not revolution as in someone is afraid that South Africa is going to be destroyed. No one is destroying South Africa here. No one. There has not been one fight. There has not been one brutal anything. There has not even been angry words at this. How can you see this many African youth, particularly African men, young men together and not one fight. Nothing. That defies the logic of what they're saying.
According to your thinking, is it right to discipline your child when he's asking you a bread?
Let me tell you something. Here's what we understand discipline to mean. To know what you value, to be a disciple of what you value, and to live those values consistently, particularly in the face of crisis and conflict. So when we say discipline in the context of political struggle, what we mean is that we know what we stand for, and we will stand for those things as disciples of those values, and we will live them even when our own leadership is in conflict with us. That is what we will do. So we will redefine the language. We will redefine the struggle based on the energy of this leadership that's emerging. You cannot suppress this leadership. It is going to emerge, and it is happening all over the world, and not by accident. It's not by accident. So these are the struggles that we must embrace. These are the struggles we must embrace.
The last question of President Obama.
Yes.
Tell me about President Obama in the question, the issue of Libya.
President Obama has a responsibility to the world to be a different type of leader than anything we have ever seen in the United States of America. And to the extent that he is not prepared to be that different type of leader, then we must critique President Obama as well. Because President Obama is not absent from, he cannot be looked at outside the historic context of African struggle and African people everywhere. So we can never have an analysis of President Obama that is soft on him and embracing and looking at other leadership and saying, well, we'll excuse him because he is black. No, we do not make excuses because of the color of his skin. We embrace the struggle, and we critique him robustly and rigorously because we understand that he is going to be held accountable to African people. Not just everybody, but to African people in particular.
The last question, can you tell me, this AU,
yes,
some of the members of the AU in African continent,
yes,
they are the sellout,
yes,
to the foreign investment for this continent.
Yes.
Do you believe that?
Listen, let me tell you something about, this is a big conflict. This is a great question that many of us have, and be clear. The cornerstone of all scholarship is to question, but we have to ask the right questions. One of the things that we must be very careful to do in all of our struggle is not to unnecessarily create enemies. We must always be conscious that there are many of our elders who have in some instances betrayed the struggle but can be won back by their truth-telling. When you betray the struggle, come before the people and tell the people, I have done this wrong. I have betrayed you, but I am now going to fight with you because I understand how I have betrayed you. So if we, the youth, recognize that there is still an opportunity for even those who have done wrong to come back before us and be embraced, then we set a new standard for leadership. We do not want to do what they did. We do not want our youth today to make the same mistakes that we made. Many of our comrades who were positioned to be perceived as betraying the struggle, in fact, did not. We know this from the struggle of the Black Panther Party in the United States. The enemy of our people positioned them and made them look like agents, provocateurs, right? But here's what we know. We found out after many of them died that they in fact were not. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very thoughtful, and we have to be very strategic in all of our actions. We do not randomly indict. We look very carefully at every situation, and then we as a people come with consensus about what must be done. And once we come to that consensus, we ask our fallen comrades, what is it that you see as the most important thing that you can bring before the people to engage in the truth-telling that is essential to us?
Is it defending Malema or what?
Oh, of course it is. We've come 1,700 miles, 17,000 miles to support him.
I'm not the youth, I'm ultimate doctor. I'm here to support the youth, the unemployed, the poor, and all that, yeah. No, I just wanted to check. You're supporting the youth or just making a public
No.
Yes.
No, we come 17,000 miles to do that.
We're here to fight. You don't want stories here.
Yeah, no,
Actually, young
no.
guys,
Yes.
I'm older than you. You're supposed to ban you and make
Tell them what
those
our
guys in my sittings are happening.
Yes.
No, but I don't give a fuck how they meet them and they
Yes,
sell us
yes.
out here.
This is not the
No,
media.
No, this is not the media. This is not
I'm
the
only
media.
like you. Don't come and deceive this young people
Right,
here.
right. This is not the media.
Just like you.
No, this
This is not the media.
No,
We represent.
No.
We represent.
No.
We represent
I want
this.
to lose
Right.
here one.
This is what I mean.
When
But
I'm
this
here
is an
to-
example. This is an example of what I mean. This is the kind of example of what I mean. You have to. This is an example. Do you see what I'm saying? This is why you have to be very, very careful in your analysis.
Right.
This is why. Because you will have comrades who are well-intentioned who will make grave errors in the struggle. This is why you have to be very careful. Because you will have comrades. They are good intentioned. I have no doubt about his intention. So we do not make an unnecessary antagonism. We listen. We allow him to speak. We listen very carefully, and in his incorrect analysis, we simply correct him. We simply correct him.
Right.
That is how you handle it. You do not become uncomfortable because your comrade comes in a drunken state, unhappy with your position. You recognize that your comrade has a right even to critique you. But in that critique, we must offer up a correct analysis. And so it is unimaginable to many of them that someone would come 17,000 miles to come here to support you. But we come out of the bowels of America. We come out of the prisons of America. We're not the ones who come from the White House. We're not the one who come from the white media. We come from the 20 years in prison. However you may think I look now, I served 20 years in prison. Not for a political crime. I served 20 years in prison for a robbery because I was like you, hungry. I was like you, eager to make a difference, but didn't know how. So absent a movement and absent a struggle, this is the life that we caught ourselves up in. Crime.
Both did.
Both of us. He served 10 years for a wrongful conviction. Murder. Charged with murder, served 10 years and was innocent. So don't think that our coming here is absent of a struggle that we bring with us to bear witness to the testimony of your own struggle. You see? But please, remember what you just saw. Remember what you just saw. And the next time a comrade comes to you, many times, confused and angry, frustrated and enraged, treat them still with respect and dignity. Still honor them. Do not make yourself angry because they are angry. Be calm, be rational, be thoughtful.
Thank you.
Amanda! Where to?